I think we can all agree that the Multiverse Saga has been messy. While there have been some fantastic films such as Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and the Thunderbolts, there have also been a lot of disappointing shows, lackluster films that has left the fandom yearning for more. However, for me, the most frustrating thing about the current MCU is that most of the films and shows have had a ton of potential, but lacked a solid execution, which is why I decided to make this series, where I will be fixing the Multiverse Saga by restructuring Phases 4, 5, and 6. I will do this by seeking to fix the three main problems I have seen in the Multiverse Saga. 1. The lack of a cohesive narrative. 2. Characters taking years to complete their arcs. And 3. The lack of focused characters like Tony and Steve from the Infinity Saga. Now, I will go about doing this by giving brief overviews for the slate and the plots of each project. I've also given myself the challenge to do the following. Reuse the same number of shows and movies in each phase that we will be getting in real life, along with trying to use as many of the actual movies and shows that Marvel used, just change them around a bit to make them fit into the overall narrative that I'm building. I am not going to include animation, so there is no What If in this series or X-Men 97, etc. But, with that said, this episode will cover Phase 4, a phase whose 7 shows and 7 films focus on the theme of rebirth and rebuilding. But that's enough talk, let's jump into fixing the Multiverse Saga, Phase 4. Show number 1, Black Widow. The first show of Phase 4 is Black Widow, and I know some of you are probably wondering why I changed this from a movie to a show. Well, let me explain. Many people have brought up the fact that having the saga start off with a movie about an already dead character made no sense, and I agree. So instead of making a movie showing what she did during the gap between Civil War and Infinity War, this show is a 9-episode series which serves as a tribute to the character of Black Widow. The first 2 episodes would follow Natasha's childhood, introducing us to Yelena, Alexei, and Melina, while also showing how Natasha ended up in the Red Room. Episodes 3 to 5 would show us Natasha's training in the Red Room, giving us a glimpse at how horrific and life-altering the training she endured was. With episode 6 showing us the full Budapest incident, including cameos from Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye and Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury. Episodes 7 to 9 will roughly follow the events of the Black Widow movie, reintroducing Yelena, Red Guardian, and Melina, and resulting in the ultimate downfall of Dreykov. Taskmaster will appear in the series, working for Dreykov, but it will be a more comic-accurate Tony Masters version of the character, who escapes at the end of the project. The post-credit scene once again sets up Val and Yelena appearing in the next series on our slate, which is show number 2, Hawkeye. Hawkeye would follow the exploits of Hawkeye, who has returned to New York after hearing rumors that someone has been wearing his old Ronin costume and causing havoc around the city. Clint would find the individual using the Ronin costume linked to the mysterious Eleanor Bishop, which complicates things, as her daughter Kate is a massive fan of Hawkeye and has grown up idolizing him after she witnessed his heroics during the Battle of New York. However, unlike the MCU version of the character, Kate plays a relatively minor role and is shown to be skilled in the field of archery, but nowhere near a master like Clint. The twist of the project is that the individual wearing the Ronin costume is Trickshot, who is Clint's older brother and was hired to lure Clint to New York in order to take him out. 2 out of the 6 episodes in this series would solely focus on Clint's childhood, his involvement with the circus of crime, and him getting recruited to join S.H.I.E.L.D. by Fury, giving much needed backstory to this character that has relatively gone undeveloped in the MCU. Yelena would also appear in this project, being hired by Eleanor to dispose of him after Kate began attempting to follow him and become his pupil. Yelena would still have a secret goal of getting revenge on Clint for the believed death of her sister, like in the actual show. The series would end with the defeat of Trickshot, Yelena learning the truth about her sister's death, and Clint agreeing to take Kate on as a pupil. This would also show that Trickshot was hired by Wilson Fisk to cause chaos and terror around New York. His plan was to force Hawkeye and Trickshot to cause destruction, which would lead to people wanting those who take the law into their own hands held accountable, which would allow Kingpin to run for mayor on a platform seeking to outlaw vigilantes. Speaking of vigilantes in New York, the next show would be show number 3, Moon Knight. This 6-episode series would seek to introduce Moon Knight into the MCU, with episode 1 starting off in a similar manner to the actual MCU series, with Stephen Grant working in Egypt, struggling to fight with his alternate persona Mark Spector, who both fight for control of their body. Episodes 2 to 4 would take place back in New York, with billionaire Stephen Grant returning after years of missing and being reunited with his business partner and lover, Marlene Allerine, while Mark Spector reunites with his old war buddy, Frenchie. This is where we will see Spector become Moon Knight for the first time, and also get introduced to Khonshu, who caused Moon Knight to return to New York in order to stop the avatar of a rival god, Seth, whose avatar, the infamous war criminal Raoul Bushman, is seeking to rob the Natural History Museum of the Scarab Medallion, which holds Seth's former army of Scarab within its depths, which Seth plans on releasing in order to take control of Earth as its main god, emperor, and king. While operating as Moon Knight, Spector would fight Daredevil, who believed Moon Knight was a war criminal wreaking havoc around New York, and also showing that Daredevil is still in fact active in the MCU. Episodes 5 and 6 would show the backstory of Mark Spector, who was killed by Bushman while deployed to handle a conflict in Egypt, ultimately being given a new life by becoming Khonshu's avatar. The ending would see Moon Knight struggle to fight against Bushman before Mark and Steven's third persona, Jake Lockley, takes over and defeats Bushman, preventing Seth's plan from coming to completion. Moon Knight would then make a deal with Khonshu, which would allow him to stay in New York while continuing to operate as his avatar. So we've had 3 shows so far on this slate, so let's jump into our first film. Movie number 1, Captain America Brave New World. The first film of the Multiverse Saga would deal with the chaos that has resulted from the blip and the defeat of Thanos in Endgame. This movie would follow Sam and Bucky as they navigate their relationship with the newly elected President Ross, who has multiple things to contend with. First, in order to secure peace and protect against further attacks in the future, Ross once again seeks to force Sam and Bucky to bring the Avengers under the direct control of the US government, while also placing a specific emphasis on getting control of the Hulk. Second, Congress has been in the midst of heavy debates over the upcoming vote to repeal the Sokovia Accords, with Vice President Val seeking to campaign against its repeal. Third, a terrorist group known as the Flag Smashers have started popping up, protesting the repopulation of nations and displacement of citizens through the use of violence. The movie sees both Sam and Bucky arguing about who should take the title of Captain America, with Ross attempting to get Bucky onto his side by endorsing him to take the shield over Sam. As all of this is going on, we find that the leader has been secretly pulling the strings from behind the scenes after he took the fall for Hulk and Abomination destroying Harlem. The leader has been providing Ross with medication to heal his heart, following health concerns that arose during his campaign for president. Ross agreed to capture Banner in order for the leader to operate on him and further study the powers of gamma radiation. And in order to ensure that Ross would keep his word and provide him with Banner, the leader is secretly funding the Flag Smashers to cause as much chaos, hurting Ross's reputation until he has no other choice than to follow through on his promise. The movie would see both Sam and Bucky eventually come to blows over the mantle of Captain America before disaster strikes. When the leader gets fed up waiting for Ross to get control of Banner, he sends in the Flag Smashers to bring him a different Hulk to study, President Ross himself. The Flag Smashers disrupt a private fundraiser for Ross, who transforms into the Red Hulk thanks to the gamma-laced pills the leader had been giving him, lying and saying that they would heal his heart. Because the fundraiser was private, the public knows nothing other than the fact that a Red Hulk has appeared and destroyed the White House, leading to both Bucky and Sam leaping into battle and getting absolutely decimated by the monster. Bucky lies on the ground, looking at Sam, who stands with his arm broken, telling Red Hulk that he can continue to fight all day, even if it kills him, causing Bucky to relent in his resolve to continue fighting for the shield. Thankfully, before Sam is killed, Bruce jumps in and fights off Red Hulk, the battle ending in a draw and Red Hulk running away from Washington, D.C. The ending shows Sam officially accepting the shield, with Bucky saying that he needs to go away on his own for a bit. The Sokovia Accords are also repealed, leading to both Sam and Bruce agreeing that they shouldn't wait for another world-altering event and should begin reassembling the Avengers to be prepared sooner rather than later. Interestingly, we see President Ross giving a speech at the end of the film, with it being revealed that the head of the Flag Smashers was secretly a Skrull, who is now posing as President Ross, and worse, managed to get a sample of Ross's gamma-infused blood. The post-credit scene would show the real Ross attempting to search for Betty, but is ultimately captured by the leader, who says that while he would have preferred Bruce, and he doesn't quite understand how Ross is able to be in 2 places at once, Ross will fulfill his end of their bargain by serving as his new guinea pig for a bit. Next up, show number 4, Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel would actually remain mostly the same, with the 6-episode series coming to an end a week before the release of the next project on our slate, The Marvels. However, the one change would be at the ending. While Miss Marvel would still be deemed to have a mutation, 2 new key pieces of information would be revealed by Bruno. 1. The mutation appears to be a result of the blip in the massive amount of cosmic energy released by the use of the Infinity Stones. And 2. The only reason Kamala's mutation awoke was due to the mysterious power of the bangle. The post-credits scene still sets up the Marvels, but instead of Kamala switching places with Carol, we see Carol arriving at the Khan household and asking for Kamala. Setting up movie number 2, The Marvels. The Marvels would open with Nick Fury and Monica Rambeau working on the Sabre space station, the aerospace defense force created by Maria Rambeau prior to her death during the time skip between Infinity War and Endgame. While Monica is inspecting a jump point, she and the Sabre space station are forcefully pulled through the jump point by an unknown force, which is ultimately revealed to be Dar-Ben, the new leader of the Kree, who has taken Rambeau, Fury, and the Sabre soldiers hostage in order to draw out Captain Marvel, the archenemy of the Kree. Captain Marvel eventually finds out about this and confronts Dar-Ben, seeking to rescue her comrades, but discovers that she is enemy number 1 of the Kree, with it being revealed that this is a result of Captain Marvel choosing to return to Hala and destroy the Supreme Intelligence in a blind rage following the events of Captain Marvel. Despite Carol vehemently claiming that this did not happen, Dar-Ben says that as a result of the Kree's hatred for Carol, the only way that they will spare her friends is if she can successfully recover the missing half of the Kree's ultimate weapon, the Negabands. If she can do so, the Kree will treat this as Carol righting the wrongs of her past and will result in the Kree freeing her friends. This results in Carol frantically searching for the missing Negaband, ultimately leading her to Miss Marvel after traveling the galaxy. We see Carol and Miss Marvel butt heads over relinquishing control of the Negaband, with Kamala questioning if she should continue to idolize Carol after seeing her behavior. Carol and Kamala ultimately come to an agreement. Kamala will help Carol by traveling with her to Hala, while Carol attempts to figure out why the Kree believe that she attacked Hala. Upon their return to the Kree, a startling revelation is made. Dar-Ben is actually a Skrull in disguise. The Skrull impersonating Dar-Ben is Gravik, a rebellious Skrull who is given a small sample of Carol's DNA that was obtained by a Skrull spy during the events of the first Captain Marvel movie. Using it, he impersonated Captain Marvel, killing both the Supreme Intelligence and Dar-Ben, then transforming into Dar-Ben and turning the Kree against Carol, and using her friends as hostages in order to force Carol to find the missing Negaband, a weapon that Gravik plans to use as part of some major unknown mission. With the Negabands, Gravik poses a major threat to both Carol and Kamala, who struggle to keep up with him. However, it is revealed that Monica gained powers thanks to absorbing the cosmic energy as she was pulled through the jump point, ending the fight that results in the defeat of Gravik, with his dying words warning the group that their day of reckoning is coming, and they will repent for their broken promises. The movie ends with Kamala returning to Earth without the Negabands, agreeing to serve as a street-level hero, while Carol and Monica make amends over Monica's belief that Carol abandoned her mother during the final years of her life. Fury also tells Carol that they should be on high alert as a new conspiracy is underway, with Rambeau agreeing to work with Fury to gather intel from their Skrull allies on Earth, while Carol seeks to check in on allied races who might have been impacted by the rogue Skrulls. In the post-credit scene, we would see Bruce get in contact with Carol and recruiting her to join the new Avengers team. Next up, show number 5, Armor Wars. Now, this 6-episode show would follow James Rhodes attempting to deal with the death of Tony Stark, with Pepper Potts, Happy Hogan, and Morgan Stark also appearing in the series. Episode 1 would deal with Rhodes discovering that all of Iron Man's armor in the Iron Legion was confiscated by Damage Control prior to the repeal of the Sokovia Accords. Episodes 2 to 3 would deal with Rhodey failing to successfully recoup the armor while also finding out that the armor was taken in under the direct order of Vice President Val. This would lead to Rhodey seeking the help of Harvey Keener, a current student at MIT, to assess the situation, also introducing us to Harvey's MIT classmate and close friend, Riri Williams, in the process. It would be revealed in episode 4 that the goal of recouping the armor was to attempt to form a new army of armored soldiers, led by the newly rebuilt Ultron, with episodes 5 to 6 dealing with Ultron overriding his commands and taking control of the entire Iron Legion, with War Machine, Rescue, and Riri Williams donning a new suit she built along with Harvey called Ironheart, stepping in and defeating Ultron and his legion of Iron Man armors. The ending of the show sees Pepper successfully regain ownership of the armor thanks to the help of her lawyer, Jennifer Walters, with Rhodey encouraging both Riri and Harvey to continue following in Tony's legacy, with Riri beginning to operate as Ironheart while Harvey works as her point man from their home base. The post-credit scene would show Sam recruiting Rhodey to join his new Avengers team, while in the second we would see the son of Obadiah Stane, Zeke Stane, learning of the exploits of Ironheart. Movie number 3, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Shang-Chi remains most of the same except for a few minor changes. The first change would be to give Ant-Man a cameo scene at the start of the film, having him be one of the celebrities who drops off their car for Shang-Chi and Katie to valet. Instead of having Wong facing off against Abomination in the underground fight club, Wong and Doctor Strange are frequent guests and attend to watch the various fights and make bets. The film would still end with Shang-Chi gaining control of the Ten Rings and his sister setting up the new Ten Rings organization, but the post-credit scene shows Wong and Doctor Strange examining the Ten Rings, discovering that despite Zhu Wenwu saying that he discovered the rings thousands of years ago, the rings actually appear to be technology from a highly advanced civilization, telling Shang-Chi that they would like to research the weapons a bit further, but in the meantime they have someone they want him to meet, introducing him to Bruce Banner, who invites Shang-Chi to join the Avengers. Movie number 4, Thor God of Thunder. This movie starts showing Thor at the Guardians of the Galaxy and him getting his life back together, and then showing that everything that started the film took place in flashbacks about 2 years ago. As in the present, Thor has returned to New Asgard and has assumed the throne, finally becoming the king, with Valkyrie and Korg becoming his executive assistants. However, we see Thor becoming bored being a diplomat, exploring the themes of what Thor sees the differences between being a god and being a leader, longing to help people once again, instead of pushing through boring agendas and having to deal with the arbitrary red tape that comes with being a leader. However, things change when Valkyrie informs Thor about a message she received from Zeus, calling for a meeting at the Council of Gods in Omnipotent City, hoping to discuss the threat of the God Butcher. We get shown the story of Gorr the God Butcher, but unlike the MCU version of the character, we actually see him brutally killing gods across the galaxy. However, in order to make the gods act, Gorr has moved to absolutely brutally killing the followers of gods as well, killing them in retribution for the faith that they have shown in their unworthy gods. This results in Zeus and Thor butting heads over their ideology as gods, with Thor thinking that they should step in and protect their followers by stopping Gorr, while Zeus feels that it is not their place to get involved in trivial matters that affect their followers, feeling that they should only get involved if they themselves are in danger, and until Gorr becomes a bigger threat, they need not worry. The argument ends with Zeus sending his son Hercules to fight Thor, but their fight is disrupted by Gorr, who begins slaughtering gods in the hundreds at Omnipotent City, and announces that his next target is Earth, the planet with the highest number of believers, and whose destruction would result in a massive blow to the gods as a whole. This results in Thor attempting to form a team of gods to fight back against Gorr and protect their followers on Earth, but unfortunately he does not have much luck. The only addition to the team besides Korg, Valkyrie, and Lady Sif is Jane Foster, who is currently suffering from cancer, but agrees to become Thor's avatar, in a similar manner to that of Khonshu with Moon Knight, which allows her to wield the formerly broken Mjolnir. The final fight of the film sees Thor and his forces facing off in an all-out battle with Gorr in New Asgard, with key characters like Valkyrie being slain in battle. Even part of Stormbreaker's base is cut off in the fight with Gorr, and collected by Korg for some unknown purpose. When the tide of battle appears to turn against Thor, he watches Hercules and a group of gods from the Council of Gods arrive at the battlefield, having their hearts changed by Thor's commitment to his people and helping fight against Gorr. The battle is ultimately won when Jane Foster sacrifices her life, killing Gorr in the process, with the final act of her life being one that saved the planet. The film ends with Zeus being voted out as the god above all gods due to his lack of action in response to Gorr, resulting in Thor being voted as the new head of the Council of Gods, and also being named the god above all gods, leading the gods of the MCU to follow in his vision, with Lady Sif taking over for Thor as the head of Asgard. In the post-credit scene, it is revealed that Korg was secretly a Skrull as he contacts a mysterious person named Kalurt and informs him that he obtained a piece of wood from the God of Thunder's axe. And from what he has observed and studied in his lab, it contains the DNA of an interesting creature. Next up, show number 6, Daredevil Born Again Season 1. Daredevil Born Again reveals that Matt, Foggy, and Karen were all dusted from Thanos' snap, but more importantly, the 9-episode series starts with the first 2 episodes showing Kingpin campaigning and running for mayor, having been found not guilty for his actions in Season 3 of the Netflix series, and immediately begins implementing his anti-vigilante policies. Now, something I want to quickly mention is that during this series, both Foggy and Karen will be busy working on a case with a major client, Peter Parker, who has become a controversial figure during this period of the MCU, and his identity was revealed by Mysterio. Just know that while there isn't a Spider-Man film in Phase 4, you will see why in Phase 5, he is currently laying low and attempting to avoid the spotlight with the help of Foggy and Karen in order to avoid potential legal troubles as a result of what happened with Mysterio. Back to the plot, episodes 3 and 4 focus on Matt having his faith shaken following the blip and being discontent with Kingpin becoming mayor, but choosing to place his faith in the legal system instead of choosing to immediately act as Daredevil in order to solve the perceived issues with Kingpin's rule. An idea that comes to a head when he decides to represent Hector Ayala, who is arrested for operating as the vigilante White Tiger. Episode 5 results in Matt helping to acquit White Tiger from the charges levied against him, but like in the show, he's ultimately killed by an unknown assailant. Along with Matt's story, we're also shown Fisk facing the challenges of the mayor's office, getting into disagreements with the chief of police and other political leaders, and slowly devolving back into the kingpin of crime. Episode 6 and 7 follows Matt seeking to figure out the individual behind the death of Hector, employing the services of Jessica Jones to discover more information about Hector's death, also visiting Luke Cage at Harlem's Paradise and Frank Castle to see if they have heard anything. While visiting with Frank, it is revealed that Frank has been tracking dirty cops who are using his logo to justify killing, but also a dangerous criminal still on the streets, the man named Benjamin Poindexter, who is able to be found and charged for his crimes in Season 3. Episode 7 ends with Bullseye returning to the series, plotting the assassination attempt on Vanessa, with the final 2 episodes of the series showing how Bullseye attempted to kill Vanessa, which is thwarted by Daredevil, ultimately resulting in Bullseye going to prison, but also results in Fisk taking drastic measures, forming his anti-vigilante task force and implementing martial law. Season 1 ends with Matt and Jessica discussing the drastic actions taken by Fisk, and begin discussing if it is time for the Defenders to return once again. Next up, movie number 5, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Thankfully, this project and the next are very simple to run through, as nothing really changes from their actual MCU counterparts. The only change of note in Wakanda Forever is that Harvey Keitel is also involved in the story because of his friendship with Riri Williams. Shuri still becomes Black Panther and defeats Namor, and Baku becomes the day-to-day leader of Wakanda, and Shuri gives Harvey and Riri some advice on how to make an even better version of the Ironheart armor. The only major reveal here is that Everett Ross turns out to be a Skrull, and was able to acquire a DNA sample of Namor during the events of the film. Movie number 6, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This film is one of the rare exceptions on this list where everything in the film remains the same. The biggest thing to note is that Peter Quill is back on Earth and Rocket has become the new leader of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Show number 7, Nick Fury. This 6-episode series would end a week before the final project in Phase 4, and would follow the exploits of Nick Fury attempting to uncover the secret conspiracy involving Skrulls. Before breaking down the plot, I want to say that this series would have the feeling of a spy thriller, with Nick Fury being shown to be much more capable than he was during the Secret Invasion show we got in the MCU. Episodes 1 and 2 would show Nick Fury returning to Earth along with Monica Rambeau and attempting to gather some of his old friends to help in his endeavors, namely Maria Hill and Daisy Johnson. We would also reunite with Talos, who reveals that a number of Skrulls have become frustrated with Fury and Carol for failing to keep their promise, namely that the two of them would help find the Skrulls a new place to live following the events of Captain Marvel, the destruction of Skrullos. Episodes 3 and 4 would show what happened to Fury between the end of Avengers Endgame and the Marvels, with Fury struggling with alcoholism and depression over the death of Stark and still reeling from S.H.I.E.L.D's dissolution, left to feel that he no longer has a purpose in his life. Back in the present, Fury is reinvigorated in his resolve to right the wrongs of the past, working with Talos' daughter Gaia to find out more information on the underground group of Skrulls known as the New Skrull Empire. Episodes 5 and 6 focus on Fury discovering the truth behind the New Skrull Empire and their leader, Kalurt. They are a group of Skrulls who felt betrayed by Fury and feel that because he couldn't keep their promises to them, it is their right to take Earth as their new home, through wiping out the humans that currently inhabit it. Not only does Kalurt have an entire army of soldiers stationed on various planets and on Earth, ready to strike when ready, but Kalurt has also gained powers through bioengineering the DNA of various heroes. Thanks to the actions of his subordinates, Kalurt has gained super strength thanks to the DNA of Ross, energy manipulation thanks to the DNA of Captain Marvel, elongation thanks to the DNA of Groot that was taken from the chunk of Stormbreaker acquired by the Skrull who was impersonating Korg, and flight thanks to the DNA of Namor. Kalurt shows off his power, thoroughly dominating Rambeau in battle and ending the show by officially declaring war on Earth. Fury finds himself once again needing the help of the Avengers, calling Carol to warn her that a new threat has emerged and that Earth is now under attack. Movie number 7, Avengers: Secret Invasion. Phase 4 ends off with an Avengers movie, somewhat adapting the Secret Invasion storyline from the comics. This project sees the Avengers facing the threat of a Skrull invasion that impacts not just the United States, but the world as a whole, with Kl'rt calling on an army that not only consists of troops currently stationed on Earth, but also a number of displaced Skrulls who attack Earth from space. Unlike other Avengers films, the conflict is so massive and so dire that it forces a team to split up and form small groups of heroes to protect the citizens of the world. These groups include the Washington, D.C. group with Sam, Hulk, and War Machine, the West Coast group consisting of Wong, Ant-Man, Wasp, and Shang-Chi, the New York group consisting of Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, who's come out of hiding to help out with the conflict, Hawkeye and Kate Bishop, and the international group consisting of Captain Marvel, Black Panther, Nick Fury, Photon, Lady Sif, and eventually Thor and a small group of his loyal gods. We would also have various other heroes helping out in the fight against the Skrulls, such as Miss Marvel and Moon Knight aiding in the fight to protect New York. We'd also finally see Wanda for the first time during this phase, who's been spending time isolated from the world in a small hut near what used to be Sokovia. We'd also see Daredevil attempt to help out, but being easily overpowered by the enemy, which causes him to lose faith in his abilities, which will be explored more in Phase 5. The entire movie does not just consist of fighting, however, as it also deals with the power struggle between Sam, Carol, and Steven, who all have drastically different visions for the Avengers and how they should respond to the threat. Sam believes that protecting the citizens of the world should be the team's top priority, while Carol sees a more diplomatic approach, wanting to attempt to negotiate with Kl'rt and right the wrongs of the past, with Strange taking a viewpoint that mixes the two, wanting to focus on the course of action that results in the highest probability of success. This causes Sam to lose faith in his leadership capabilities, something that comes to a head when he is surrounded and nearly killed by a swarm of Skrulls. He's ultimately saved by Bucky, who steps in, both saving Sam and ending their conflict over the shield, with both men agreeing to follow in Steve's legacy. The project ends with a defeated Kl'rt, and the remaining members of the New Skrull Empire surrendering and being relocated to planet 0259S, the planet Thanos lived on following the events of Infinity War. Despite this seemingly overwhelming victory for the Avengers, the results of the victory are troubling. I'm going to give a quick rundown of all of what happens as a result of this project. 1. Many of the citizens of Earth have lost faith in the Avengers, feeling that Captain Marvel betrayed them by providing the aliens who attacked their planet with a home instead of holding them accountable for their actions. 2. The world has suffered a major attack whose damage is beyond anything that has been seen before. 3. President Ross is revealed to have been a Skrull, causing Val to be named the new US president, and people's belief in their governmental leaders being shaken to its core. 4. Mayor Kingpin is emboldened by the attack, feeling vindicated to push for harder restrictions in order to protect the people of New York. And 5. The Avengers are all left feeling that their status as heroes might not be a worthy moniker any longer. For if they couldn't even prevent this much damage overtaking the planet, how can they seek to lead in their predecessors' footsteps? The project ends with Sam, Carol, Bucky, and Strange meeting to discuss next steps, all admitting that mistakes have been made, but all agreeing that it is up to them to carry on their predecessor's legacy, with Sam officially being named the new leader of the Avengers, who promises to formulate a plan to move forward and rebuild trust in the team. The post-credit scene would be a major one, showing the Council of Kangs and introducing us to Rama-Tut, Scarlet Centurion, and Mortis and Kang the Conqueror, who says that their mission to build a single, perfect, and unified universe filled with infallible beings is about to commence. And that is how I would fix Phase 4 of the Multiverse Saga. I know that there might be some changes that you might not be massive fans of, such as not introducing Spider-Man No Way Home in Phase 4, but trust me, I think the MCU would be better off resolving some of these storylines before jumping headfirst into the multiverse side of things in order to avoid confusion and also give some of these legacy characters a much better ending to their character arcs, or also bringing in new character arcs for them to go down. But don't worry, Phase 5 will really kick off the multiverse side of this saga, which will be coming out in the next installment of this series. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and comment how you would fix the Multiverse Saga below. Stay tuned for Phase 5 coming soon. But until then, I hope you all take care and have a great rest of your day. This is JT Videos, and I will see you all again very soon.